Welcome to Lenzing Innovation at Texworld USA. My name is Erica Garcia, and I am with Lenzing New York in Business Development Marketing. This season, Lenzing is highlighting Lenzing Modal Future Black. Lenzing Modal is not only about softness, but a long-lasting color as well for fabrics. We are also featuring the sustainable denim wardrobe for Carved in Blue, our latest specialty fiber, Refibra Lyocell, and Tencel for bed linen and home textiles. To learn more about these topics, please visit us at the Lenzing booth D07. You can also find 23 Lenzing Innovation Mills in the front left located around the Lenzing booth D07. This seminar is being videotaped and will be available in the coming weeks on the media links listed on the cards available on the information desk outside of the room. Additionally, for Carved in Blue information, there'll be a media card outside of the seminar room. Today we are presenting sourcing and preference program countries. Officials and manufacturers from Africa, Egypt, Israel, and Haiti will tell you about the special programs that let you take advantage of duty-free sourcing with fabric from anywhere. Please welcome your moderator, Gail Strickler, President of Global Trade of Brookfield Associates, LLC. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much. So, gave you guys a quick overview already. To those of you who have come in a little bit later, so we're going to be talking about the preference programs today. This is going to be a panel discussion, and so basically, I'm going to give you kind of like a quick overview of what we consider really the three preference programs. Preference programs as opposed to FTAs or other programs with trade benefits. The idea here is that these are unilateral, in other words, one way. It's not a reciprocal agreement like a free trade agreement, and they are granted. They usually expire. In the case of the QIZs, as you'll see, they don't expire. And I really want you, this is truly a panel discussion. I'd love to hear questions from you. Our panelists, we've brought you some of the true experts. In the case of some of the people here, they are behind the inceptions of these agreements. They can give you motivation, answers to how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, and why it's meaningful. So let me, without further ado, let me give you kind of my quick overview of the preference program. So basically, again, these are all duty-free sourcing. People have also asked, and I'll mention this, people have asked, is it only for textiles and apparel? Now, the truth is most of these programs aren't limited to textiles and apparel, but why are you so important to global trade? Well, here's the real reason. The real reason is that not only is this a $3 trillion global industry, but this is, in terms of the US and the EU, which, by the way, consume, as you can see, almost 50% of what gets exported. These are the highest duty items. In the United States, the average duty on anything is under 4%, but your average duty on textiles and apparel is about 16%, with some of your synthetics coming in as high as 32%. So when we talk about duty-free, literally you can be saving up to a third of the cost as opposed to purchasing it somewhere else. And in a way, that helps to mitigate what is sometimes the more complex or difficult time of doing business in some of the less familiar places. And why, for those of you who are under a lot of stress right now to reduce the costs and to be able to keep the consumer coming back, this is really a good time to be looking at what those opportunities are. So again, why textiles and apparel? So fascinating, but over 60 million people worldwide are employed in this industry. You hear all about, like, what's so important to labor, and you hear about the automotive industry. In the entire world, only 8 million people work in the automotive industry. Textiles and apparel employs over 60 million people in the manufacturing side, and the global supply chain, including retail, et cetera, well over 100 million. Why is textile trade, again, why is it so important? So first of all, you can very quickly create a lot of jobs. And not only do you create a lot of jobs, you create jobs that can skill up. In other words, you can get somebody in cutting, sewing, manufacturing that literally is like a minimum wage job, wherever it is. They can improve their skills and earn more as they go along. Addition, one of the biggest employers of women, particularly in the developing world. In some cases, in many countries, really one of the only opportunities for women. textiles and apparel is just seen as a place that it's okay to let women work. Again, as I mentioned, the high duty rates, and you have, of course, rather complex and convoluted, as I'm sure some of the people who used to really hate me during my USTR days would complain about the complex and convoluted rules. That is absolutely true. The good thing is, though, when it comes to the advantages they offer, that all those complex and convoluted rules for everybody offer advantages when you can get duty-free with third-party fabrics from a lot of the places we're going to talk about today. The fact that it employs a lot of women, that we can offer trade benefits, makes it a significant tool for development. And that's why, we're going to be talking about places where we are trying to develop economies, develop jobs, and offer new opportunities. Just to give you an overview, here's what you're talking about. So of the over $100 billion worth of apparel imported into the United States, less than 3%, or just around 3%, is coming from these preference programs. Only 17% is coming from free trade agreements. So basically, 80% of the products coming in here, you are paying full duty for. So it really is time to start looking at how to cut those costs. We're going to be talking about these particular agreements. We're going to talk about Haiti with the HELP, HOPE, and the CBTPA agreements. We are going, oh, by the way, you don't have to take pictures. I will make this all available. You can have a copy of this. Don't bother taking photos of stupid screens. I will make this. I will put it on a website. You can send me emails. Lenzing will post this, so feel free to actually pay attention and not photograph it. And if you want, even if you're worried about it, I'll even email it to you from here at the end. If you give me your email address, I will email you a copy today so you know you have it. So we're going to talk about the Haiti HOPE and HELP, and overlapping with CBTPA, and we're going to talk about AGOA, and we, of course, are going to talk about the QIZ program, which is actually comes into the United States under the Israel FTA and is cooperative between Egypt and Israel. Very fast, because again, we have the experts here, so you don't need me to tell you about this. So Haiti, HOPE, and HELP, and CBTPA. Last year, almost $1 billion. Again, mostly third country fabric, jobs that are really, really needed and appreciated. And we are really lucky. Mark Dessau, who was the special representative for building the Haitian Industrial Park in Caracol, in the Obama administration, is here today, and he literally can tell you everything you could possibly want to know. He knows every manufacturer in that country, what they make, how they make it, and why they make it. The QIZs, we are very lucky. Again, we have the head of the QIZ program from Israel, from Egypt, both very dear friends of mine and two of the greatest people in this industry, as well as someone who has invested tremendously in the business and somebody who helps our Egyptians. And I hope you've had a chance to take a look at the Egyptian pavilion here. Mr. Mohammed Qassem heads up their association of apparel manufacturers, and he's here with us today. I do have an apology. Unfortunately, we were to have two people from Ethiopia here today, and they are presently in Qatar, unable to make the flight. Apparently, there's a lot of excitement going on between Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, and the flights that they were on are not going to be. So I will give you, obviously with 7 years at USTR, I definitely did a lot on these preference programs. So if there are any questions on AGOA that I cannot answer, I promise you I will get you the answers, but hopefully I can answer all your questions there and give you an overview. I have visited of the basically 23 countries that are doing the most of the business. I visited about 21 of them, so hopefully I really can give you some good answers there. I'm just back from Ethiopia recently myself, so apologies, and hopefully we'll get you anything you need to know. Just some quick figures. I bring this one up in particular. This is about AGOA. This is looking how AGOA can affect trade, and I find this fascinating. If you look at Swaziland and Madagascar, Madagascar was actually thrown out of AGOA for 2 years, about 5 years ago, and then let back in, and Swaziland was thrown out. So you can see how being able to save up to 32% duty really makes a huge difference. Lesotho, which basically went from, that's actually a mistake, I apologize. So Lesotho went from 290 to 320 million in those few years. They were at 29 million about 7 years ago. So taking a look there, you can also see Swaziland went from 55 million to 1 million when they got thrown out of AGOA. This is, and again, you don't have to look at all this. I really put this here for people who want it as a reference, and as I said, I'll make it available to everybody. These are just, quick overviews of what each program has that is specific. So for example, in Haiti, most people don't realize this, but you have the Hope and Help, which allows for third country fabric, and you have CBTPA, which is where you can do T-shirts and other kinds of cotton garments that use U.S. yarns and fabrics. And again, here's a little overview on the Egypt and AGOA preference programs. I'm also including a number of websites that you can use to find additional information. The third one down, that Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, that is a specific default document that literally gives you every detail you need for importing garments under the preference programs. So a lot of these resources. One of the things that I'll talk about just a little bit today, and tomorrow when I speak about all of the FTAs and preference programs, go into more. There is so much data available for you for free and so much information about doing the importing and figuring out how to do customs valuations, et cetera, that really you can do this yourself. You really don't need to, this is probably bad for what I do now for a living, but you really do not need to hire an expert to tell you how to find out this information and how to do it. It is all out there, and hopefully today and then also tomorrow when I talk about FTAs, I have given you links for all of these programs. For example, the WTO, UNCTAD, everybody, they have fabulous websites, and I put a list together. I'll have it tomorrow, and I'll make sure it's on the Lenzing website, of all these places that you can go for trade information, what you need to do, what the qualifications are, how you have to document it, et cetera. So please don't hesitate to use these programs because you think that it's going to be scary, or it's going to be hard, or it's going to be expensive. The information's out there, the information's free, it's readily available, and you can do it, and you can put business in countries where they need these jobs, and you can save up to 32% duty and really make this worthwhile for you. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Gabi Bar, who is the Israeli minister for the QIZ program. And he's going to give us a quick overview of the QIZs, and then we'll move on to some of the other programs. Thank you. Gabi.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. I'm very happy to be here, and I whispered to my friend Ashraf that thank God, thanks to El Al and Egypt Air, that we could arrive to New York. So, my name is Gabi Bar. I'm a Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Economy and Industry in Israel, and I'm the co-chairman of the QIZ committee, Israeli QIZ committee, and working together with my Egyptian partners. So, what is the QIZ? It stands for Qualifying Industrial Zones. And it's an agreement, it's a trilateral agreement that allows Egyptian companies who are placed and located in qualified zones, and my friend Ashraf, I'm sure, will talk about these zones as well. The companies that can export to the United States duty-free under the FTA agreement between Israel and the United States. And in order to do it, a company needs to comply with some criteria that I'll talk in a minute or two about. Well, I'm using my friend Gail, the win-win-win situation. once. We had a seminar, and she said it, and I liked it. And since then, I took over this win-win-win. Win-win-win situation means that all parties enjoy the QIZ. I mean, for the US, it's an unlimited term of agreement. I mean, it doesn't have any end. It's an agreement, a bilateral, trilateral agreement that continues unconditional as long as the parties keep the rules and keep and maintain the agreement. It allows unlimited textile and apparel imports to the United States duty-free. There are no quotas with no any limitation. And of course, it gives access to the skills and experienced labor of Egyptian suppliers. And for the American buyers, it diversifies the sources. As Gail mentioned, the $100 billion of imports of apparel, fashion and apparel in the United States on a yearly basis, the QIZ has a very small portion. It's only 1%. And we hope to increase it because we believe among the 100 million we can be more, and we have the potential to be there. Now for Israel, it opens new markets of Israeli exports because as you will see in my presentation in the next slide, you'll see that the conditions are that you need to have Israeli inputs in the product in order to comply with the rules and to get duty-free entrance to the United States. For Egypt, it improves its competitiveness because while having a duty-free entrance, it gives the Egyptian manufacturer the opportunity to export on a duty-free basis, because if they do it independently, then of course they will have to pay duties, and some of the items in textiles come even up to 32%, which is a really huge amount or huge portion of the product. And of course, the joint activities of the three parties gives us the opportunity to work together, to have the opportunity to meet, to get the two business communities of Israel and Egypt, and of course the United States, so that it brings the communities to work together, to meet, to stand on the same platform, to have a joint booth. If you look, you see the three flags in the booth, and many people come and ask us, what is it? How come? I mean, why are you doing it? What is the purpose? And this is the purpose. It brings the two people together, and it's thanks to the United States that allows us to do it, and it helps us a lot. Now, I said that there are some requirements. Now, according to the rules of origin, you need to have, in order to be eligible for duty-free treatment, you have to have a 35% local added value, and also to go under substantial transformation. Now, the 35% actually is divided between the two parties. So 90%, 89.5% of the inputs can be from Egyptian source, and only 10.5% of the inputs need to be, it's a minimum, of course. We prefer to have much higher, but the minimum required is 10.5% from the Israeli side. And also, as I say, it needs to undergo a substantial transformation. So if I go to textiles, it's from fabric to shirt, and and I'm sure that you are aware, and if you are here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, what can Israel offer? What can Israel can offer? Let me just say that, well, we are well known as a startup nation. We had a lot of high-tech companies. Nevertheless, still we do have traditional companies and mid-tech companies that need to do their job, because not all Israelis are employed and work in the high-tech business. A very substantial part of the country, a very substantial portion of the business of Israel, the export of Israel, are from the high-tech business. Nevertheless, also the mid-tech is there. And we are trying to bring as much as more high-tech in the mid-tech and low-tech business. Namely, we need to have a lot of, I would say, effort, to make a lot of effort in order to reduce the cost of Israeli labor, which is relatively very high. So we go to automatic machine, and we try to do the best in the way that we can do. Now, what we are doing, and you look at the list here, we're doing fabrics, we're doing zippers, chemicals for any chemical, but chemical for textiles, hangers, packaging materials, washing materials, yarn. What else we have here? Elastics, labels, threads, and so on. So we have quite a substantial variety of products, of inputs that can be used in the manufacturing, in the supply of the manufacturing of the Egyptian industry. We do it. We work together, and I hope that we will even increase, because by increasing the Egyptian exports, automatically it increases the Israeli exports to Egypt. It's our exports to Egypt, and it is combined in the products of the Egyptian side. Now, forgive me, but since I prepared my presentation a bit earlier than this exhibition, so this is Vegas. We were in Vegas 2 years ago in Magic, and we had the show together, and we participated in quite a substantial amount of seminars and exhibitions, even 2 solo exhibitions here in New York, because we are trying to promote the exports of the Egyptian companies, and by that, of course, we promote our exports to Egypt. I think I finished it, and it's thank you, shukran, and toda rabba.
Thank you, Gabi. So I'm going to give you a quick overview now of AGOA, and let me go back to that one slide that I gave you, because as I said, unfortunately, our delegation from Africa won't be here. So like Egypt, AGOA allows for third-party fabrics. Some people have expressed some concern that there is a limit. In other words, as we spoke about the QIZs, that there is no limit. As much as they can manufacture can be exported. There are limits, both from duty-free sourcing from Haiti and as well as AGOA. However, in AGOA, there are a multiple of, people talk typically about the TPL, which is tariff preference level, which is the amount of product that can come in duty-free. Right now, that stands at 3.5%, but that's only on the third-party fabric. And again, we're only at about 1% right now. So literally, it can about quadruple without even having to think twice about making any changes. So I want you to, and the other thing is also realize that all of those countries that you see listed there can export duty-free. Right now, many of those countries are still exporting as little as $10 million a year. The countries that are getting the most excitement right now, Ethiopia has seen, as I showed you, a huge growth, and there's been considerable investment. PVH, VF, a number of other companies have expanded dramatically in Ethiopia. We're also seeing some interest in West Africa. There's production now in Ghana and a bit in Senegal. The pitfalls, and I'm going to ask some questions later of our panelists, of what are the benefits and what are the pitfalls. In Africa, one of the problems is that we have long delivery times. Even West Africa, which really should be about 9 days to the East Coast, has very few direct shipping routes. So unfortunately, a lot of them first have to head back to Europe before heading to the United States. So you wind up often having about 26 days. But hopefully, as they continue to grow and expand, we will see those shipping routes become more direct, and we should get down to as little as 9 days from the West Coast. And also, in terms of through the Suez Canal, using the same ports, obviously, that we're using for the QIZs, we can be as little as 12 days from that point. Again, you still have to add about 2 weeks to that to make its way to the Suez Canal. So just to give you a quick overview, and again, we do want to turn this over for questions. So let me turn this over to Mark Dessau. You can just stay right there. And let him give you an overview of the programs in Haiti and how that's been moving.
Can we go to the Haiti page?
Yes, absolutely.
I have no other slides. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'd like to see how many people here are in sourcing departments or supply chain. Can you raise your hands? Okay, so the majority are not. Interesting. As Gail said earlier, there are several preference programs, and yet it's only about 3.5% of the total imports to the United States. The Hope Help Act from Haiti was instituted first in 2006 and a revised version in 2010. There's also the CBTPA, which is the Caribbean Basin Tariff Preferential or Trade Preferential Agreement, right? Between the CBT,
quiz for all the.
yeah, between the CBTPA and the Hope Help Act, you've got 1.7 billion SMEs available out of Haiti. And the highest that's ever been utilized is 334 million. So that'll give you an idea of how underutilized these programs are. But it's growing, and it's growing very rapidly. The minister here will talk about Egypt. Gabi spoke about Israel. But today, Haiti, there was a period of waiting when people were nervous about will Haiti work or will not work. And now there's one supplier, a Korean supplier, that's gone from 0 to 10,200 workers. And now guess what? There's a stampede. We've got other Koreans, Taiwanese, companies from Hong Kong, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh that are invested in Haiti today, and more that are swarming around looking at the various free zones and industrial parks that are coming up. So capacity is growing tremendously. It's growing exponentially. Yeah. I deliberately didn't send any slides. I'm not going to push too hard. The business is coming in. If you're not looking at Haiti, you're missing opportunities. Missing tremendous opportunities. Activewear, brands like Under Armour, Lululemon, they've already written programs or committed to programs with suppliers who are still training people, who haven't made a single shipment. Why? As Gail said, there's a 32% savings for them. It's all synthetics. Everest Textiles of Taiwan is opening up in Ethiopia and Haiti at the same time. And theirs is mostly polyester stretch wovens. RSI is building a facility that will house about 6,500 workers in central Haiti, outside Port-au-Prince. Hansei, which is another big company out of South Korea, has already started with 2 small factories and have contracted for about 16,500 square meters. That's 1,650 square feet of sewing space. And they're chasing for it. Today, there's 41,000 workers in the industry. By the end of this year, it will be about 43. By the end of next year, it will be at over 50,000. Last year, the exports were 848 million. I won't be surprised if they cross 1 billion by next year. About a month ago, there was an exhibition, not an exhibition, but a seminar called Haiti Tech. And it was a technology seminar. You had Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. You had people from Google, Uber, Lyft, various other tech companies, Facebook, etc. And everyone talked about the challenges. Haiti still has questions around its infrastructure, logistics, but everyone agreed that Haiti can be your case study. And there were articles published in several media outlets which said, if you can find your solution in Haiti, you can apply that solution anywhere in the world. I was talking to Gabi. There's a QIZ in Jordan, and guess what? The company from Jordan sold its factory and opened up in Haiti. They opened up could only accommodate 1,200 workers. Now they're complaining they should have taken a bigger building, and they have found space for another building. You know. We've got companies opening up in, I think I mentioned, Everest Textiles in Haiti and Ethiopia at the same time. So Haiti is, the one thing that Haiti has, which no one else here at this table offers you, is proximity. From Haiti to the east coast of USA is 3.5 days. And you've got 3 ports operating out of Haiti now, 2 in and around Port-au-Prince and 1 in northern Haiti. And there are sailings every day. And if you can't get the ship that you want because you missed it, it sailed in the morning, you can truck your goods across the border and ship them from the Dominican Republic. There's Puerto Plata and Caucedo, and there's daily ships from there as well. So proximity is one of the great things that you can get out of Haiti. Labor, you might hear that the labor wages keep going up, but guess what? They don't tell you that at the same time the currency depreciates. So even though the labor costs, wages may go up, the currency depreciation offsets that. The competitiveness has stayed where it is. And in terms of value add, first you can bring fabrics from anywhere in the world, make your garments and ship them out of Haiti. There is a woven TPL of 200 million square meters, a knit TPL of 200 million square meters, and a value add which is indexed to the total imports in the US. It's about 1.5% of the total US imports. So last year, that alone was about 334 million square meters. And that value add, you don't need to rely only on how much value is added in Haiti, but if you buy fabric from any country that has a trade agreement with the US, that value add is considered as Haitian value add. So you get accumulation. It's very easy, very convenient, and people are taking advantage of the opportunity. If you're not, you're missing a huge opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So now, hopefully, you have a pretty good overview of the 3 programs we're talking about here and the opportunities that they present. So what I'd like to do is talk to our panelists, and I think, Mark, you really let it off beautifully with where I'm going, which is what is different about your program? What does it have that other programs don't have? What does it give? So, of course, in the case of Haiti, we have proximity. In the case of the QIZs, we have something that never expires. In the case of Africa, we have a rather large diversity of product being made and places that it can come from. So what I'd like to do is open it up to the panel, and I'll also, and to our guests, to discuss some of the things that you guys are looking for answers. So what I'd love to know, first of all, is what is made in your countries that nobody expects is made there? What is the surprise? Like, okay, I will answer for Egypt. I'll start out, okay, which is that some of the world's finest men's suits, I mean, really amazing tailored sportswear for companies you absolutely would be shocked to find out are made in Egypt using components, using high-tech components from Israel that are made with stretch and breathability and wicking and everything else. I was so surprised. If you saw the brands that are being made in these factories in Egypt, you would just be shocked. So I've started out that one. Mark, what is made in Haiti that we don't expect other than we all know T-shirts from Haiti? What are you seeing?
I think the general impression is that Haiti is only good for basic T-shirts. Very few people realize there were tuxedos being made in Haiti. As far as industrial workwear goes, people think it's only medical smocks that might be made out there, or scrubs. But I've seen Cintas, Landau, and I was very surprised to see what Dickies are making in Haiti. You know, skateboard shorts, etc. So there's industrial workwear, there's the basic knits. Today you've got a lot of athletic wear and performance management fabrics coming into Haiti. For, like I mentioned earlier, there's Under Armour is already producing with a few factories there. Lululemon is pushing to get started by July. So what else? You've got Slacks. Perry Ellis has started buying workwear. Levi's continues to buy jeans out of Haiti. So you've got a variety of garments. And then, of course, there's what you always knew was coming, the T-shirts, the undergarments, and men's underwear from Haiti.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, from some of the countries in Africa, what I'm seeing is tailored sportswear now being made in Ethiopia. In Lesotho, we're finding an amazing amount of athleisure wear coming from some of the most high-tech fabrics being imported into Lesotho. In Kenya, we're seeing African-style fabrics that really, you know, beautiful, African-inspired, kente cloth-styled fabrics, but made into very contemporary garments that are selling all over the world, and that was exciting to see. So I'm going to ask people to please start asking questions, and I will, yes,
Are
please.
there opportunities in any of these for smaller manufacturers? I mean, the big labels give us assurance that you're obviously doing great quality, but if you're on a smaller scale, are there any doors of micro factories or anything of that are available?
Mark, you want to start?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Mohammed,
sorry.
did-
Go ahead. No, please, go ahead.
Did you?
Well, thank you. I'm glad you answered this question, but this is too heavy. I mean the
question or the
microphone, not the
answer?
question. I'm glad you asked this because we in Egypt, we are really encouraging small and medium-sized importers. We have all the biggies. We have the Levi's, we have the PVH, we have the Vanity Fair, we have the Ralph Lauren, we have the Calvin Klein. All those guys are there. We don't have to explain to them the program. They know it. They have expertise. They know everything. The world is very open to every one of them. But what we're really lacking and would like to see that is smaller importers, smaller brands, newcomers, that we will open our doors for them and will try to help them as much as we can to source out of Egypt. We have a big event in November. It's called Destination Africa. And we would welcome any of the small and medium-sized importers to come and visit us. Please stop at the show at our booth. There's a promotional booth there for Destination Africa. You can sign in and you will get all the information immediately. But definitely, this is a very good opening. That's what we need in Egypt. And I'm sure Haiti also needs that.
Mark?
In Haiti, I think the smallest factory has 200 workers, and the largest one has 10,500 workers. So you can take your pick. And it doesn't mean that if you have small orders, you can't work with the larger factories. You know, I've seen Columbia Sportswear go in and start with one sewing line. They tested the factory for about 6 months and then gradually expanded. Anyone else?
And I'll tell you, in Africa, I think it really depends on the country. Certain countries tend to have geared themselves up more for, in a lot of cases, because those companies actually came in and helped build those factories. But, for example, in Ghana, I've discovered a number of factories that specialize. There's a group called Ethical Apparel who helps with sourcing if you need their information. They help with sourcing, and they do as little as 250 of a style, and the quality is spectacular, and they'll work with you and they'll help you find your way through. In Lesotho, again, I've seen, particularly in the athleisure market, companies with 500-piece minimums and things like that, so there's tremendous opportunities. Yes, next. Come on, this is a panel. What are the questions? Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Alexandra. I work for Charger, which is a company that sells interlining. So interlining is a trim. My question for you is, you were saying that basically the global lead time is the number one criteria for brands and for production. But the problem is in IT, for instance, if you need to bring everything from China and you don't have the inputs and it takes months and months, then your total lead time of production is actually very long. So my question for you is, do you have any plan to incentivize tier 1 suppliers and tier 2 suppliers such as myself to come to Haiti and have a local presence Or are you just going to rely on importing goods from China?
That would be a great question for the suppliers, or the vendors with factories there, but I'm going to take a stab at it. Absolutely. In a country like Haiti, everything is imported, but everything is also 3.5 days away or less, because you can get whatever you need from the Dominican Republic in 4 hours. And if you want to get it from the US, it's 3.5, 4 days away. There's a lot of inputs that also come in from Guatemala and from Mexico. But you're absolutely right. There's more and more people beginning to stage embellishments and accessories. Sewing thread is now produced in Haiti. Cottons are produced in Haiti, but buttons, zips, labels, hang tags, all of these things, I think is a great opportunity. I can help to put you in touch with people at the free zones or industrial parks who would be happy to talk to you about how they can help you to warehouse your product and stage your product.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I'm Korean, but I work in China. We have a gown factory. We see like a soft woven type, like dresses, like blouses. And in China, in terms of population, like we have a factory from 800 people right now, downsizing to 200 people because of the lack of sewers and the related costs. And just now you mentioned that 200 people in Haiti is a small factory, so I was kind of thinking that that's we actually looking for like trying to build a factory that overseas in terms of the duty, but then also for like sewers. But I was wondering because you mentioned like mostly sportswear they're making, but for us we do like soft woven dresses and well. So I'm wondering those kind of items is possible to produce in Haiti or not.
It's your investment. What Haiti can give you is the real estate. The human talent, there is talent available. If it doesn't have the skills to make the product you're making, you have to invest in that, in training them.
And the other thing is also the supply chain because most of the fabric that we have is at the moment in China. So we wondered if the shipping time commuting from China, Asia to Haiti maybe takes a long time. So that would be also one of the questions to Haiti.
Logistics is complex, but I know it can be managed. Why do I say I know it can be managed? I'm closely associated with the Caracol Industrial Park, and Gail knows the tenant very well that I'm talking about. It's a company that's currently producing about 300,000 units per day. And their fabric is either from China, Korea, Guatemala, or other places. Yep. So if they can do it, I'm sure you could do it.
Can I add
Please.
to this? Because actually, the three programs that Gail explained to us today are suffering from this issue. We are dependent in Egypt and in Haiti and in the AGOA countries in Africa, the 25 of them, from lack of material. We import yarn, we import fabrics, we import accessories, but this cannot stay forever. We have to develop our own components. This is, I think, in Egypt we just gave an interview to CNPC a little while ago, and we were talking about Egypt's effort to resurrect the upstream part of the textile industry, meaning spinning, weaving, dyeing, and finishing. Koreans are investing in Egypt. We have an excellent relationship with the Chinese, and we discussing with them building a textile city in Upper Egypt. And perhaps in other places in Egypt. But there's a big challenge for all of us. Obviously, Haiti is a bit farther away from Egypt, but with our friends from Africa, we're trying to build a continental supply chain where there is a lot of things that we can cooperate together. We hosted in Egypt our friends from Active Africa Clothing and Textile Association a couple of months ago, and we're discussing ways and means to complement each other rather than compete with each other. So we need to build a continental supply chain in Africa to take advantage of the quiz and the AGOA in the meantime.
So I think that that's a really good point, and I think it's something we could all talk about in terms of this. One of the things about preference programs is, and I think to some degree the reason that most of them are time limited, is the idea that these are supposed to be stepping stones. These are supposed to be leg up opportunities to build a regional supply chain. We all know, I mean, we can look to China, we can look to Southeast Asia, we can look to India. We all know, we look even in Central America now, what's been going on down there. We all know that it's best if you can be making the inputs around the corner or dyeing and finishing the goods yesterday that you need today. So obviously, that's the hope for all of these programs, is that we will see competitive advantages start to emerge and see those things. I think what a preference program does, though, by providing this opportunity, by removing the costs of duty, is to see what makes sense here, where are the skills, where are the competitive advantages, and then hopefully we start to see a supply chain, a real regionally integrated supply chain start to evolve and emerge and allow those countries and those places that should be making these products in the long run to develop their competitive advantages and to seek a place in the global economy. So, I think that's one of the things.
Ian wants to say something.
Ian, please.
I'm actually, I look along here and I think I'm the only person who actually works in Egypt. I'm the CEO of Egypt, Delta Textiles in Egypt. So I look at it from a manufacturing point of view. And we did a lot of changes in Delta. Delta is an Israeli company, and with the help of Quiz and with the Egypt government, we did a lot of changes over the last 2 years. And what we realized is we couldn't keep relying on the supply chain being far away. So what we did was we became vertical, and we now have our own fabric mills that we provide ourselves with fabric. Our next challenge is elastics. Elastics for us are huge. They take us 8 to 10 weeks to get from China. So we're now looking at a program with the Egypt government and with some of our suppliers to partner to pull that elastic into Egypt, not only so that we can supply ourselves, but we can supply the Egypt region as well. So it's about us now looking at the benefits of the country that we're in, and Egypt gives us very good benefits. It gives us quicker lead times into Europe, quicker lead times into the States. So it's about, I'm coming from the manufacturing side, and I look at it and say, the more I pull in next to me, the quicker I can make it.
What is the name of your company again?
Delta Textiles.
And I'll give you another example in this case. So, for example, in Ethiopia right now, they're building a huge industrial park in Mekelle. And right now they're relying on third-party fabrics, mostly coming in from India and China. But I was there recently, and they're already putting in a sewing thread factory, and they're starting to put in recycling for all those water bottles that are polluting the African continent to be able to become a feedstock for polyester production. And hopefully in the next few years, we will actually be able to see Ethiopia emerge as, because it has the other things that are needed. It has relatively low energy costs and a decent water supply. And we're hoping that in the next couple of years, hopefully about 3 years, it will be self-sufficient to produce the single largest fabric used in this world, which is polyester, from PET feedstock. So hopefully we see these preference programs really as offering that opportunity for companies to build vertically integrated operations.
Yes.
So I have 3 testimonials and 3 questions.
Okay,
I'll
which
start
order
with
we want
I'll
them
start
in?
with the good and then we'll go to the bad.
Can we do it the other way?
Yeah. No, I like this way better. It's that way you like me. So talking about Egypt, Haiti, and Ghana specifically, I've had the pleasure of going to all three countries, and one of the things I think is really overlooked is the quality of the craftsmanship. And especially in Egypt, I saw a lot of French designers starting their couture collections there and then taking them to Paris to finish. And in Haiti, if anybody's familiar with the designer Stella Jean, whose dresses start at $5,000, she starts them in Haiti too, and develops them in very micro factories actually. And with Ghana, there's actually a couple of factories that I've been working with. One I happen to love called Kabil, and she does minimums at 50 pieces without overcharging you for, or an upcharge for working with them. So now ready, my bad ones, so, or my questions. So going back to the example that you gave about Egypt, I am always so confused what really means those percentages. So is it a value percent, like 10% of the value has to be Egyptian or Israeli, and then, or is it the label size is 10% of the garment?
No, it's value. It's value. It's value. It's customs value.
It's according to the rules of origin. You have to be 10% of the value of the product.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter what it actually is as long as.
No, it matters. It matters. You cannot buy bicycles for the workers as a gift for Ramadan and say it's an Israeli input, assuming that it was manufactured in Israel. No, it needs to be. I know that every time they take my.
So the idea is that it's value-based.
Exactly.
So, and we present that to customers based on our invoices or your invoices?
It's invoices. Actually, we have it on a quarterly basis as a committee. We audit it every quarter, and we see it. And after we see that there is the Israeli content and they comply with the rules of origin, then of course the company gets the permission to go for the next quarter. So every time we check the previous one. So if something happens and he's violating, then he just gained one quarter.
She's looking at it for importation. So
Yeah.
for import, she's not worried about that's your problem. It's for importation, it's value. It's purely custom, 10.5% of customs value.
Excellent. So my second question is shipping costs. So none of us, I feel here, are gonna fill a container worth of goods to put it on the water. So I'm having like those, I just bought 50 dresses from Ghana that cost me $200 to ship, 22 kilos. Right. This is my problem. This is my problem with Egypt. Right, shipping by air is also really very, very
Well, that's
expensive.
unusual because the shipment from Egypt is pretty quick. You do not have to
I'm
ship
not
by
talking
air.
about quick. Oh, no, but I can't fill a container and it's not even
It's
enough
a
for loose cargo.
consolidation. You can make consolidation.
So, right, it's not enough for loose cargo. It's 50 pieces, 100 pieces.
Well, it's still gonna be, if you're gonna ship 50 pieces from China, it's gonna be
high-end,
expensive.
Right, exactly, that's why I don't work with China. So, and that's why I love these countries that you're representing today. So that's.
I have a solution for you, Mercedes,
Definitely.
but not
In a suitcase, I did that yesterday too. But this is different, because I know when I buy something at Fleet, they're getting special discounts through the US Post Office. Is there some kind of,
Okay.
is there some?
Our Egyptian booth has an answer for you, so they'll be glad to work with you.
Thank you.
You can come and visit. Egypt Air is on promotion most of the time. You visit the country, take the strap in your bag, and that's it. It's the cheapest way.
Okay,
And we really enjoy having you there.
So I have one more question. So why is it such a small percent when there's so many advantages? What is really the biggest hiccup besides the logistics problem?
I don't want this to be just my panel anymore.
I think some of it, I think it's a very mixed bag. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think obviously it's more work. I think if you look at when you talk about most sourcing executives, it's easier to stay where you are or someplace that is more, I mean, these are not without challenges. That's what this is about, but that's what you get rewarded. You save the duty because there are challenges. And I think the point of us all being here today is to tell you the challenges are not anywhere near as difficult as what you probably perceive. I think a lot of it is perception. You know, people, I was in a meeting recently where somebody was carrying on about, demanding, transparency on this, and it's a very large company who probably buys at least 40% of what they purchase from China. I know they buy at least another 20% from Vietnam, et cetera. And I said to them, how much transparency, what do they really have in terms of knowing what's going on in the factories in China? They don't. They even visited, they visited once, 3 years ago or something. There's a lot more exposure. There's a lot more, anything goes wrong in any of these places, it hits the front news of the paper. I mean, there are challenges here, but I will tell you, as someone who has spent a lot of time on the ground in all of these places, in this last year I have been to all of these, well, not every country in Africa that's part of AGOA, but 7 of them in the last year. These are yes, you should care about social compliance. All of these programs have social compliance components, okay? So the QIZs are monitored by an Israel and Egyptian panel together. The Haiti program includes the TICNAR agreement, so every single factory is monitored every month. And AGOA has all kinds of requirements towards democracy, towards freedom of association, et cetera. So there's inherent positives in working in these countries too. So yes, there are challenges, but there are also great advantages. And I think the reason I care enough to ask you all to be here and to ask these fine people to come from halfway around the world to talk to you is the challenges aren't anywhere near as great as they are perceived, and the opportunities are fabulous. And that right now, this is a great time to take advantage. I think that legitimately we could see the use of these programs double within the next 4 years and easily triple. And those would create much-needed jobs in these places and hopefully build supply chains that will make sense for the long run. So, that's really how I truly believe that. Yeah.
Can I add something to?
Yes, please.
Just two quick points. One is why we are the percentage is small. We were hoping for a lot more. Our growth rate since the inception of the quiz program till 2011 was 22% on average per year, which is very decent growth rate. However, we stumbled into the political situation after 2011, and our exports dropped the past 4 or 5 years. The trend started to reverse again, and we saw an increase the first quarter of this year. So we're expecting that the growth will come back again, and we're hoping to catch up with a double-digit growth very soon. On the issue of compliance, Egypt, I think I can give some news here. Egypt had signed off with a Better Work program with the ILO, and it's going to be effective immediately. Thank you.
I'd like to add something.
You're not going to get a chance. This panel is not going to let you speak.
Besides the compliance, which is there, all these countries have very good compliance programs. Haiti has Better Work Haiti, TECNAR, etc. Why aren't the exports growing, or why isn't the percentage increasing? That's because retailers and brands are not increasing their allocation, or until now have not. That is beginning to change. With TPP not moving forward, you're seeing a tremendous move from some very large retailers to bring more product, not just to Haiti, but to the entire Caribbean and Central American region. That needle will shift. It's already beginning to shift. Investors and manufacturers like Ian will set up new factories, not because labor is cheap, but because there's these duty-free opportunities or government programs. And in addition, there has to be an assurance that retailers will give them orders when they start a factory in that new country. And that is what has held it up till now. Now retailers are chasing their tails, bringing manufacturers from Taiwan, from Korea, from Sri Lanka, and saying, hurry up and set up your factories in Haiti. So that's changing.
Wait.
Please.
I just wanted to know, with the Israeli-Egyptian collaboration, can you explain more how it has contributed to create peace? Can you give us successful example?
I would be more than happy to take this question. I have my own reasons why do I believe this program has actually a unique benefits that exceeds most of the kind of preferential agreements that the U.S. has. While in most of the FTAs and trade agreements, it's built on kind of exchange of benefits, like I open my market for you, and in return you open your market for me. For the QIZ, it's actually built on partnerships. Unless you have a partner that you work with, you are not allowed to come to this market. So for an Egyptian manufacturer, he will be able to export to the US if he has an Israeli partner with a component that he can import from. Of course, it's the same for the Israeli, or you can always say that Israelis have FTAs, but if he works through this program, he has to have an Egyptian partner. And in the end, the US importer, or in general, what maybe matters more, the US consumer will benefit the most, because the product will be imported to the US without paying duties. It's, as Gail indicated, it's also indefinite. So it's not for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, it's indefinite, which kind of, as you see in many other agreements that have kind of term limits or so, you can predict what's in the future. You always see for GSP, for instance, if the Congress or the administration will support it this year or not. So you can build your plans for the future on a program that it is indefinite. The kind of, it's not only a kind of an economic or trade kind of program, but it's also socio-political program. I know of some factories in Egypt, in the poorest of the areas, that were built, and we have parts in Egypt in what we call Upper Egypt, with kind of investment from Israel, and the product will be exported to the US. And we have a story, for instance, of Nurhan, a young lady who is crippled and was able to be the breadwinner of a family of 8 through this program. And they know that this is kind of an Israeli investment. And so it is, this kind of program became a catalyst for peace in the Middle East. And the program also has a very strong political support from the government in Egypt, from the government in Israel. It has also a support. We have Gail Strickler here, and in the USTR, we were always told that this is a kind of a program that the USTR is proud of, because it helped build peace in the Middle East. Next to me is Gabi, who I met a few years ago, and we are friends because we have this kind of program. So when I say that this kind of program became a catalyst of peace, I mean the word. And it was realized on the ground. The program also have kind of self-compliance that helps and build the kind of trust in the business among the 3 countries. So when a product is exported from Egypt, we know Israelis know that it has an Israeli component. The Americans know that it was coming from the QIZ. My friend Qasim referred that now we have an ILO program which will start this month in Egypt. And as a matter of fact, the program was supposed to take 18 months to implement, which is kind of the usual time period for a program like the one they will start in Egypt soon. to be implemented. But because we have a kind of compliance which was very strong, so the ILO decided that instead for the program, instead of taking 18 months, it will take only 6 months, which I believe it's kind of vote of confidence that how these textile mills or factories are run. So I believe, as I said, it's the uniqueness of this program and the political support and the awareness that this is a kind of fruit of peace among partners, kind of unusual partners. Used to be enemies in the past. So that's why this program is very popular, and that's why I'm asking all of you, I will not say to invest in peace, it is investing in peace, but to be sure that the kind of basics that this program was built on are there to help. Even a couple of years ago, when we had a kind of a government in Egypt which was, we had a revolution because people were not really happy about it. For this program, it was not affected.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashraf.
Yeah.
I have to
Sorry,
tell everybody that we are more than happy to stay, but I know some of you do have to leave, so I don't want you to feel guilty getting up and leaving. So please, if you have to go, we are past our time, but we will be glad to stay and answer questions. So anybody, we will not think you're being rude if you leave, but if you have questions, please go right ahead. Gentlemen,
I have a question.
Yeah.
The incentives for joining this program seems really compelling. I'm questioning, as a person who's seeking to have some supply from some of these developing countries and so forth. What does it take to participate in join this program? Is there a lot of? Because I know I wouldn't expect you to tell me all the details, but I mean sometimes whenever you have these kind of perfect programs, there's a lot of bureaucracy.
Well, I think that was the point that I was so trying to make. It is not. I think that a lot of people have been concerned, and what if I don't comply? What if I do something wrong? Am I then going to be responsible for duty and penalties, et cetera? And I think my point to you is, first of all, visit the booths that are here, talk to these people that are here. Please feel free to ask questions. The manufacturers who are in these countries know how to do business, and it is not very hard. Literally, on your customs entry form, it often means making an A in the top corner, and that's it. Your customs broker may try to make you think it's a big deal sometimes. I mean, I used to find that. And then when you would do business, it really was not. It is, find a good manufacturer in these countries, and you can be very comfortable with the results. Yes, please. I think you're going to have to make that decision. I can't answer that question for you. Please. And then anybody else who has... Yeah. Sure.
Hi. Information. So this duty-free program that's available in Israel, Egypt, Ghana, etc. Is this a courtesy only for the United States?
So there are programs to other countries. For example, the EU has a country program called EBA, Everything But Arms, that is extended to a lot of these countries. They also have a free trade agreement with many of these countries, and they have a program for Haiti too. There are different qualifications, and for example, like the EBA is 17 countries in Africa as opposed to the 26 countries, but there is overlap. I have a list of those if you're interested. I can tell you which ones overlap for those of you who are importing into the U.S. and the EU. Also, there's a fabulous, fabulous website. I'm going to give them all to you tomorrow in my free trade program. But if you go to RTA Exchange, you will find a listing of every single FTA and preference program between and among every country in the world. So for those of you who are concerned about, well, I buy and I import into the U.S., but I also import into, Argentina and Japan and whatever, is there some place that I can buy for all those places and save duties? Or what are the duties going to be? That can provide you that information.
You answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Anybody? Yes.
Well, you know, as a nation, we're heavily internet dependent. I was wanting to know now that we're aware of the opportunities, what's our best direct access to some of these factories?
Head to the trade floor and see who's manufacturing what you need.
So just speak to the
I think that's a pretty good.
I'm seeing a lot of China, I'm not seeing a lot of.
There's an entire exhibit from Egypt right now. There's a whole pavilion. There's a number of African. And then you can also look at some of the trade shows that promote those individual countries. And if you need Haitian manufacturers, Mark is absolutely the single greatest resource that that country has. And he's right here in front of you.
34 factories.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate your visit. Thank you.